Do you see the distinction? That if we are awake enough, that we can step back and say, okay, I'm feeling this and I'm experiencing this. This is what I received from this situation or this person or what's going on. But the question is, what do I want to give back into it? What do I want to be feeling and experiencing in my life? What do I want to have in my consciousness so that I can give something different, so that I can create something different in my life experience, because I'm getting this gift because of some karmic thought, some reality, some circle that is completing itself, that I'm being given an opportunity to acknowledge something that is within me that needs to be healed, that needs to be brought forth and released and let go and brought into a different space or a different place. So the gift that I want to give is the gift of transformation. So we give what we have to give, and the first gift is to ourselves, and so I want to be transformed by those kinds of experiences in my life. I want them to be moments of transformation so that I might give that gift to others and to others' experiences. So the gift is the gift of spiritual understanding. You see, that's what we're looking for. Now, Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. And, you know, when he said that, basically he put a condition. You can, I like to think of it as you can only love your neighbor to the extent that you love yourself. We only have the capacity to love another to the extent that we love and appreciate who we are. And that's not narcissistic either. That's a recognition and appreciation of who we are, and that expands into a loving consciousness. Emily Cady said in Lessons in Truth, she said, understanding is a spiritual birth, a revelation of God within the human soul. She goes on to say, until down in the depths of your soul, you are conscious of your oneness with the Creator, until you know within yourself that the spring of all wisdom and health and joy is within your own being, ready at any moment to leap forth at the call of your need, you will not have spiritual understanding. Until you know that at the depth of your being, that you can call those things forth into being regardless of what it is that you are experiencing or feeling or going through in your life experience. So spiritual understanding is knowing. It's knowing in that moment it's all good. It's knowing that I'm being nostalgic for what the good that is coming because I'm awake enough in this moment to create something different in my life experience. And so the best, when somebody says the best is yet to be, it's because they recognize that principle or that divine idea. That it's not looking back on the great things of our life, which I think is important, but it's looking ahead and saying, the best is yet to come because of what I'm doing today, because I'm awake enough to create an experience in this moment and transform something that's happening to me right now. It's the opportunity to go deeper. I have a superficial example of that, and I think superficial examples are important because we practice these things on the little things in our life. When we practice them on the little things over and over again, they show up in the big things because we condition ourselves. So my superficial example is about my jet ski, okay, which I bought last summer. And I decided I wanted a jet ski. It's like, okay, that is something that I wanted to get. So I went around and looked for new jet skis, and they were just really expensive, And I was just having a real difficult time sort of thinking about, with college looming for the kids and stuff, thinking about that. So I finally decided to buy a used one, and I found a used one for less than a third of the cost of a new one, which I could justify that, right? I could convince myself that that was okay. So I bought it, and actually I got some good fun out of it last summer. I had some troubles with it, but I got it fixed and got some good things going. Well, this year, we took it out, and within a couple of weeks, we blew the engine. So I took it in to the mechanic, and he had to rebuild the engine, and it wasn't cheap. And so we took it out after the rebuild and blew it again. Okay. So I've had it out about 3 or 4 times all summer. And now I'm up to 2/3 of the cost of a new one, okay? And lamenting, why didn't I just buy a new one to begin with, yada, yada. You do that sort of thing. And so I'm up to 2/3 of the cost. But here's the thing. There's some issues between myself and the mechanic. I like the guy. He's a really nice guy. And, I'm frustrated about it. And I'm, my anger is more about the not being able to use it than it is about anything else. So I acknowledge that. But I thought about it for a while, and I thought, how do I want to show up in relationship to my mechanic, the guy that's working on it, right? What do I want to give him, even though there's this sort of joint sort of process that's happening? And so I thought it through, and I thought, what I want to experience in my own consciousness is a sense of peace and a sense of knowing that it's okay, and a sense of responsibility, and a sense of being open. And so in my interactions with my mechanic, in our conversations, and still in the shop, because I'm trying to decide whether to fix it again or not to fix it or what to do. So we're kind of going through this process. So we're talking, and I'll show up, and and I can see him sitting there waiting for me to blow up. I mean, he's really like this. And finally one day he said, in our conversations, he says, you're awfully calm about this. And he was worried, that I was too calm, about it. You're awfully calm about this. And I said, well, I've thought about it. And I said, in the scheme of life, this is not a big deal. A blown engine is not a big deal. There are other things to be upset about. This is not one of them. I just want to figure it out. That's all. To me, it's a problem to be solved at this point. And so I'd like to work with you in terms of figuring out what's the best thing to do and the next step, And so we've sort of developed a friendship around this, and I feel like we're not there yet, but I feel like we're going to figure it out. And it's going to be whatever is the best and the highest and the best. Now it's a very superficial thing, but I think it's in those moments that we, where we aren't up against the wall, so to speak, where we can practice what it is that we know. Because if we can't live it in those experiences, how in the heck are we supposed to live it when we're faced with a divorce or a death or a loss or a job loss or something that really is meaningful or really difficult or really challenging in our life? How are we going to face that if we can't face it here? And so that's one of the things that I invite you to do, is to think about what it is that you want to give to the situations that you are involved in, to the experiences at work, to the relationships with your coworkers or your boss or your spouse or your children or whoever it is that's involved in your life, what it is that you want to give, because that's what we need to engender and to nurture and to nourish within ourselves and within our own consciousness. That's the spiritual understanding that we wish to bring forth. Jesus actually, he demonstrated his consciousness so many times in Scripture, but one of the passages that I like deals with the woman at the well in Samaria. And the big challenge with this particular place is that, number one, Samaritans were looked down upon by the Jews. And they also practiced the Jewish faith, but they were called Samaritans. And one of the reasons that they were looked down upon is because the Samaritans were the ones that remained there. They didn't go into captivity to Babylon. And so they're the ones that remained there, and their Jewish faith was a little different than the ones that went into captivity, who came back and sort of took over.